Durant, we'll get to Durant, I guess, a little later. But I run it back. And what you hope is the pain, the criticism makes him work harder defensively. And you talk to him too. As the team, you talk like the coaching staff. Sit down with him film-wise, get him to execute on defense, put forth the effort, and stop making the silly fouls. And then, as I've said with Tibbs, offense, getting more movement, player and ball, and you got to get Tibbs to play the bench more too. So you do those things. We talked about the East. It's right now, it's the Knicks and Indy. And Cleveland will be there, but Cleveland has faltered time and time again in the playoffs. Like, even though they were banged up, they've also had these just bouts of mental weakness, to be honest. And so I think the top two teams in the East, even if Giannis stays in Milwaukee, right now would be Indy and New York, because Boston without Tatum. And so with those tweaks, you add a little bit to your bench. But Shamet can play as a bench player, Landry Shamet. And your guy, McBride, they got guys that can get some minutes during the regular season on the bench, and then they'll be more prepared for the playoffs, and your starters will be more rested. So some of those tweaks, and then they got a shot to come out of the East.
So I would be fine with them just running it all back. Obviously, I think Giannis is a separate discussion entirely, because to me it is such an obvious no-brainer that if you can add Giannis, you add Giannis.
Right.
The Durant thing is interesting because you can make arguments on both sides. He and Towns, I spent a lot of time on a bunch of different websites, NBA trade machines today, because I didn't have access to Bobby Marks directly to ask him how exactly this works. One website kept telling me I'm 200 grand away from making it work and it can't work. Another one was like, trade works. But yeah, I'm going to assume that a KD Karl-Anthony Towns trade can be consummated in the offseason when some of the restrictions lessen. It is worth contemplating under this prism. Do I think that it is good business to trade a player who's 7 years older than another All-NBA guy? Typically, I don't. Do I think that if you're the Knicks looking at next year as putting a few extra eggs into next year's basket when Boston's off the table,
I like this,
is worthwhile if in conjunction with it we get whomever, we get Bruce guy Rick Brunson, whoever our number one assistant coach motivator guy is, to drive over to Mitchell Robinson's house and be like, hey, one of the reasons we're comfortable doing this is because we believe you can play 30 minutes a game. Because we believe you're going to come back next year and be a 60% free throw shooter. And we are going to start you. You are going to be our starting center. Yeah. Mitch Robinson, who in the past has kind of put out things on social media, not as of late, but like, I'm not just a rebounder, and like, that we want to give you that bigger role. And we are going to, and if you're Phoenix, that's the best you're going to get for Durant. A guy who fits Booker's timeline. They were teammates. They're buddies. They were teammates at Kentucky. Yeah. You know what I mean? Ishbia does not want to rip it down. Maybe he should, but he doesn't want to. I think that would be, I think Phoenix would be winning that trade, but I think the Knicks might be better for next season. And so that's something that especially when the alternative is Towns, who's on the books for like $61 million in a couple years and extension eligible this summer. That's a contract that Minnesota was afraid of. So you get out of the way of that. You keep your athletic wings. I think that is something.
You don't like that?
I'm not trading Karl-Anthony Towns for Durant at 37. Durant, remember, 37 in September. Injury-prone himself. He's more injury-prone than Karl-Anthony Towns. He got injured in the layup line a couple years ago. I mean,
I know,
that's a fact.
I know, but...
And then Mitchell Robinson is injury-prone as well. I'm supposed to count on him. He's never healthy.
Hold on. Can I?
There's no way. And Nick, even in best-case scenario, if that team were to win the East, which will be wide open, they winning it all?
Maybe.
That's
Who
not
knows?
they,
We don't know
the
who's
East is not nearly as good as the West.
I understand, but we don't know.
I mean, once you get there, yeah, you got a chance. But I just at this point banking on Kevin Durant to lead. Like, I love him there with Brunson and Towns. But him instead of Towns, he doesn't improve my defense.
Oh, I think your defense
He's a little better than Towns defensively, but at
your
37,
defense
he's not
improves
gonna
by
be
your
good.
center becoming Mitchell Robinson full time and Durant out there. Can I push? Because I was not prepared for you to not like it because
it's typical Knicks. Look at how many superstars they brought here past their prime.
Agreed, but Durant's still an excellent player.
He scores.
Hold on, but that's
what he does. Same
with Towns. That's all Towns does.
Rebounds.
Okay, Towns rebounds.
And Towns scores inside, which I could draw fouls on the opponent. Durant's just going to shoot jumpers.
The reason I thought you would like it was because in one of the more controversial moments in this show's recent history, you said the Mavs should consider trading Anthony Davis for Durant. And I said that was an insane trade from the Mavs' perspective. We did a whole press conference about it.
There had to be somebody else. It was Durant and Kyrie. It was because
they have Cooper Flag now.
I don't think it was
because they have Cooper Flag now, and it was a whole thing. I don't
know that was exact, but even so, that's still a threesome. Like, I love Durant in New York with Towns and Brunson.
I don't think that's
just Brunson and KD. No.
But I mean, you
at
value
37?
But you value Towns more than the combination of OG and Bridges, because let's just say I don't even think that trade math-wise would work. But if I said, okay, trade Durant for OG and Bridges, then you can't guard anybody. Then now you can't guard anybody.
Everybody.
But are you a Tibbs team?
Now you're not guarding anybody. I think
you have three. Now all of a sudden Tibbs has three guys who aren't great defenders.
I still got Hart. Durant's a decent defender. I'm just saying he's not much of an upgrade over Towns. Okay. It would be an issue.
If they did the trade I said, Brew, don't you think you'd pick the Knicks to win the East?
Not necessarily, no.
Oh, I mean, the day after, if we were like, hey, who do we think's in the best position?
We are susceptible to that. A little recency bias. When we look at the show.
It's all his. Obviously, Kevin Durant's been a better player than Karl-Anthony Towns. His age, his injury history, and then banking on Mitchell Robinson, feel like every year of his career he's been hurt and out for half the season at least.
All right. Coming up next, Bucky Brooks says the league needs to worry about Caleb and Ben Johnson. Next.
Don't worry, we'll be back.
I can't believe they're leaving. Like, who would